All right, so today we're doing a video about my trip to Valencia. So this was during my study abroad kind of trip. Yeah, our study, when I was going study abroad, this was around like the first week or two of me being there. And there's like a group of like 20 or 30 of us, like 15-ish girls and 15-ish guys. It's like an even split between the two of us. So, you know, all of us getting to know each other, stuff like that, we all planned a trip to go to Valencia. Valencia was only like 2 hours away, and all we had to do was take a bullet train to actually get there. So I'm like, all right, bet. Like, we're about to take a bullet train, see this new place. And I was like, all right. And it was cheap, too. Like, it wasn't expensive. It was like $200 per person for the Airbnb and the train to get there. So it was like, yo, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be cool, everyone's getting to know each other. So the amount of people, there was only like, I would say, let me count, 2, 4, 6, I think there was only about 6 to 8 guys who actually went, right? And then there was about way more girls. There was like damn near all the girls went. I think there was only one set of girls who didn't go. Yeah, only like 2 girls who didn't go. But besides that, everyone else went. So we all went, and when we were planning for our Airbnb, the girls were talking like mad trash. They were like, oh, our Airbnb is better, it looks better, we have a kitchen, we have a pool, and they were bragging, and they were like, our Airbnb, we didn't even have our Airbnb done yet, actually. The girls had their thing done like a week in advance. And for us, we bought it maybe like 2 or 3 days in advance. We were like, you know, the guys weren't really planning like that, I ain't gonna lie. So we're like, damn, whatever. So we find out that the girls, they get their Airbnb, we get our Airbnb. And then we had to pick out roommates, right? So because you're not gonna get a room for each individual person, obviously. So we got 2 person per room, and you had to like, you know, it's like a dorm mate or a roommate. So there was me and my friend, let's call him Castle. Me and my friend Castle. Me and my friend Castle had one room, Hoops, and the other guy, and then this other guy, we're gonna call him Reindeer. We're gonna call him Reindeer. So Reindeer, and then we're gonna call, there's a lot of people in this story. We're gonna call another one, Leopard. So those are the people in our Airbnb, and then there's this real tall 6'5" dude. I'm just gonna call him 6'5". That's all we'll call him, 6'5". And then there's 6'5". So all of us get an Airbnb. We go on the bullet train. We get there. We sleep. We're cool. We have our little packages and everything. And we're like, oh, it's gonna be fire. You know what I mean? And we get to our Airbnb, and the thing is nice as, like, bro, to this day, one of the best Airbnbs I've ever been into. We bought that thing 3 days in advance. It was mad nice. The rooms were nice. We had a balcony. We had a top floor, and the balcony was so big. Like, I had like a table out there, and we were like in this like kind of, the neighborhood was kind of shady, I ain't gonna lie, but it was in like this place where, I don't know how to explain it, but we had a balcony with the table and the chairs, and then you had like a bunch of like other buildings next to it. So we were like looking at a bunch of different tall buildings next to us. It was super cool. Like, it was super fire. So we get there and we meet the Airbnb owner. The Airbnb owner, like, he's like, you can tell he's very on his stuff, right? He's like, blah, 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 blah. So he says that he needs to take all of a picture. I forget if he has to take a picture or take all of our IDs. I think he has to take a picture of all. I think he had to take a picture of all of our IDs. I think that makes the most sense. So yeah, so he had to take a picture of all of our IDs. I was like, okay, whatever. And one of the guys, Reindeer, when he gave his ID, he threw the ID towards the Airbnb owner. And we're all looking at him like, yo, well, actually, I'm the only one who was looking at him like, what the heck? And then the Airbnb owner, he lashed out. He's like, this is mad disrespectful. I was like, I was just like, what the flip? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, you know what I mean? He's tweaking, but he's kind of right. You know what I mean? I'm just like, damn. So I'm like, he's like, oh, yo, what's wrong with you, man? You kids are so disrespectful and stuff like that, something like that. I'm just like, He's like, reindeer's like, oh, my fault, man, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whatever. He took the picture, he woo whoop, and he leaves. I'm just like, damn. So I get my room, I get a little settled with, whatchamacallit, Castle. Me and Castle get settled in our room, it's cool. Castle's pretty chill. We were talking if we snore or not. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, it's cool. I'm like, what? It's cool. So that's it. You know, we start hanging out, we talking, and you know, everyone's just starting to get to know each other. We're chilling in the room, we're listening to music, getting some food, and we're not really planning to do anything until the nighttime. The nighttime's when it goes south. So some guys go out and buy some drinks, buy some food, and we get some dominoes, yada, yada, yada. So then it becomes nighttime. So you guys already know I'm not a party person, right? I'm not a club person, you know? I go just to be a part of the group, you know? You can't be a Debbie Downer all the time and staying inside, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta come out. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go, it's gonna be cool, yada, yada, yada. So the girls, 6'5" talks to me. 6'5" is like, yo, these girls are gonna take like 30 or 40 minutes to get here. I was like, what you mean they're gonna take 30, 40 minutes to get here? Why the hell are they gonna take 30, 40 minutes to get here? That make no sense. They're like, oh, they got Airbnb out of town. We're like, what the fuck? Yo, we're like, what do you mean they got an Airbnb 30, 40 minutes out of town? Like, yeah, it's out of town. They have to take an Airbnb and it's like $50. I'm like, bro, what? These girls are bragging. When I tell you they're bragging, they were like, oh, our Airbnb is so nice, this, that. And they bought an Airbnb out of town. They literally bought an Airbnb out of town. I'm like, bro, these people are literally tweaking. So they're like, okay. A few of them pay for an Airbnb, not Airbnb, they paid for an Uber to get there, right? But then there was a select few of them that decided to hitchhike. I'm like, what in God's name is going on here? I'm like, what? The guy says that he's gonna go. No, rewind. They said they hitchhiked from a guy and it looked like he was gonna kidnap him. Like, no duh. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what I'm hearing now, I'm just like, what is wrong with these girls? You know, because me as a guy, right? You know, I know there is like some, let me how to word this. I'm not as cautious about certain things, right? And I wouldn't hitchhike. You know what I'm saying? Like, would you really go and hitchhike just to get to the club? Like, it's not even for survival to get home. To get to the club, I'm like, nah, these chicks are tweaking. For me, I'm like, yo, they tweaking, but whatever. Like, I'm like, all right. So they get here, and they're like, the guy was saying weird stuff, and it was like indicating different kind of things. I'm like, what do you think is gonna happen? And I'm dealing with these chicks, and I'm wondering, like, what is going through their mind? You know what I mean? Because these, not to say there's anything wrong with them, but these are the girls that, like, you know, girls be like trashing men sometimes, you know what I mean? Openly trashing men. They'll be like, oh, these men be doing this, they be flirting with me this way, they don't like me touching me this way, they don't talk like me talking to me this way, and all that kind of thing, right? And then they put themselves in situations where they can get screwed over. And in my head, I'm like, what's the logic? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just me. Like, how are you going to say men are, like, you know, men are doing all this type of stuff, and then you put yourself in a situation where you can get kidnapped? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, me logically, I don't know what the hell they were thinking, but whatever. You know what I mean? They all survived, so it's okay. So we get to the club, I get to the club, and I'm walking towards the club. Actually, that's a lie. I came late. So everyone goes to the club, but I don't actually go with everyone at the first time. I come a little bit later, you know what I mean? Because honestly, I don't even know why. I just kind of came when I came, you know what I'm saying? I come at my own time. So I just came, I came like maybe like 40 minutes later than everybody else. So I go to the club and, you know, you're in the music and it's like, on my way to the club, it's low-key like the hood. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little skeptical of my environment, right? So, take that as you will. So I'm like, all right, whatever. This is kind of sketchy, blah, blah, blah. And I meet up with the group. So we meet up in like this the city. We meet up in the city, we talk, we're like, oh, hi guys, yada, yada, yada. And they're telling us about everything that's been going on. And all the girls are in their, you know, club outfits, if you know what I mean. And I borrowed like a jacket from my friend. And I'm like, all right, bet, you know, we're about to go to the club, whatever. So we get to the club. And I'm going inside, and I don't know if it's like something with my mentality or something, but whenever I go to the club, like half the people in the club kind of low-key disgust me. I know that low-key sounds crazy, but like I'm looking at the people, the girls, like they just disturb me. I don't know what to say about that. You know what I mean? They're just like, it's just too much. You know what I'm saying? Not like the people I was hanging out with. I wasn't really looking at them like that, but I'm just like, the people in the club was like ew. You know what I mean? I'm like, ew. Me personally, I was a little disturbed. So I'm like, all right, I'm hanging in there, whatever. And then we meet this one cool girl, me and Castle. We start talking to this girl. I'm like, oh, she's cool, blah, blah, blah. And we find out that she's also an abroad student. We chop it up. I start talking to her. I start dancing with her. And then I can see Castle and the other guy, Leopard, are trying to talk to the girl, right? And I have a girlfriend, and it's just like, me personally, I'm not really trying to pull no girl. I was fine. Like, I was talking to her to talk to her. When I saw Castle trying to pull up, I said, whatever, you know, game is game. Let the brother go for what he had to go for. So I go, they talk, blah, 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 blah. In the club, I chill out there for a bit, I hang out there for a bit. And after a while, I'm like, I low-key can take some fresh air. If you ever be in a club, like the inside of the club is like gassy, you know? No, not gassy, but like, it's like suffocating. You know what I'm saying? It's suffocating. So after a while, you have to leave. Unless you're smoking or drinking, if you're a normal, regular person going in there, you're gonna be like, what the heck is going on? So I'm like, all right, bet. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna leave. I go outside, and then I see Leopard and Castle hanging out with the same girl I was talking to before, or I talked to before. So I could see them trying to rizz up and stuff like that. And to be honest, I was bored. I came over and just figured out what was going on. I was just like, I'm bored. Let me figure out what's going on. So I go over there, and she's talking about herself and this kind of third. And Leopard is applying pressure, and Castle really want her. Leopard, you know, he's just a flirt. And, you know, he just kind of do what he want. Meanwhile, Leopard has a girlfriend, but you know, that's pronounced to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, yeah, it's whatever. So Leopard's doing what he's doing, blah blah blah. And Castle is talking to the girl. So Castle's talking to the girl, trying to rizz her up. And then I see Reindeer, like 2 steps next to us, talking to some girl. I'm like, oh, wow, these guys are really trying to spit game. I'm like, all right, respectable. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, all right, let's see what goes on here. I'm here just for entertainment. You know what I mean? If you're not smoking or drinking in the club, you're not having fun. So I'm like, I need some kind of entertainment. You know what I'm saying? I need some kind of entertainment. I'm like, whatever. So they started entertaining, blah, blah, blah. I start talking. She talks about her life and something. And then something crazy happens. And then we see this girl standing on the street. Like, she's literally just, when I mean by standing, hold on. When I mean by standing, she's just standing. Looking left and right. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what's wrong with this chick? So I started asking Castle. I'm like, yo, Castle, what's wrong with this chick? Like, what is she doing? They're like, oh, she's a prostitute. I'm like, oh. She's a pretty-ish girl, you know what I mean? Pretty-ish. So she's standing there. I'm like, oh, she's a prostitute. I'm like, oh, shoot. I didn't know that. I was like, okay. And I could see her trying to pull, like, men. And in my head, when I start seeing the prostitute standing there in her little mini skirt trying to pull men, you can see men looking at her. Feel what I'm saying? You can see one man looking from this direction, another man looking from this direction, and you can see the men eyeing her. And I can just see the trap. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I can see the trap. I can see where it's gonna go wrong. Like, I'm like pre-finding the issue. So I'm like, all right, I'm standing out there. I see that, and I see one brother start walking up there. I'm like, ah, this poor soul. Then I see another brother start walking up there. I'm like, damn, this poor soul. So what she does, it's just kind of crazy. And she walks into like a secluded area where she's like pretty by herself. And then the men start cultivating towards her, you know what I mean? And you know, some guys be trying to act cool, you know what I mean? Like, I start realizing as I grew older, like, some people really care about being cool. Like, a lot of people would say I'm nonchalant, right? And to be honest, I don't even try to be nonchalant. I'm just who I am. But then there's the people who try to be supposedly nonchalant. You feel what I'm saying? Like, they try to be cool, but then, like, not saying nonchalant's cool, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they try to be something that they're not, you know what I mean? Which is just weird. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Those type of guys are trying to pull up and go talk to her. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So she goes up and talks to them, and she's doing whatever. I'm like, all right, bet. She does what she's doing. I mind her business, and I keep it pushing. So I go back in the club. I start talking to the people again. Dancing, whatever. I'm getting bored again. I'm like, all right, I think I'm gonna go home. I think after an hour, I'm gonna go home. And I low-key was just like, I'd rather like hang out with, do something else. I was like, screw this. So I leave, and I leave the club again, and then I see the girl, and then no one's outside, and I see the girl go in an Uber. And then there's like 2 or 3 other guys, and then they drive away. I'm like, this motherfucker. I'm like, trapped. And this is what I have a problem with, right? This is what my concern is. You know, this is as a brother talking, you know what I mean? She's like she's a white Hispanic, you know what I mean? And the brothers going after her are black Hispanics. Like, we're still in a European country, so they're black Hispanics, right? And it looks, for me, when I see that, bro, I see trap or accusation. That's just me. Girl said, woo, be saying this, that's, and the third. I'm like, me personally, I'm like, I'm okay. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm like, yo, those poor souls, they're probably screwed. That's what I'm thinking. So I start walking back, and I'm like, yo, I'm looking kind of done with this, yada, yada. I'm walking back, and I start realizing, like, during the day is hood. During the night, it's really hood. No cap. During the nighttime, it's really hood. So I'm walking back, and there's trash on the floor, there's dark alleyways, and I'm like looking left and right. Like, I'm looking behind me, I'm looking in front of me, I'm looking this way, I'm looking that way. Because to be honest, like, I know I said there's black Hispanics, but like, they're a dime a dozen. You know what I mean? Like, anybody with color is a dime a dozen, right? And I'm like a 6-foot black man, and I get looks, you know what I mean? I'm just being honest, I get looks. So I don't know what they're thinking, but I mean, like, I know they're looking at me. So I'm like, all right, I'm looking left, I'm looking right, I'm looking left, I'm looking right. And then I start getting paranoid, I don't gonna lie. I'm not a scared dude, but I start getting paranoid. I'm like, I start feeling a little breeze on my shoulder. I start feeling like someone's breathing on my neck. It's all kind of craziness. I'm like low-key kind of scared. I'm like, yo, what the f is going on right now? So I start speed walking. You know what I'm saying? I start moving with a little speed. I start moving with a little speed, walking. You know, I eventually get back to the place, you know. Nothing happens, I'm okay. This is when the story really goes south, right? So I'm hanging out in my dorm, I'm talking to my girlfriend, and, you know, it's nice talking to her, you know what I mean? I like her. I'll probably like her. So I'm talking to her, and I love her. Before I get in trouble, I do love her. So I start going towards I'm in the dorm, not in the dorm, the Airbnb or whatever. And I'm like, I'm chilling. And then the door knocks, then 2 people come in. I'm like, whoa. One brother is drunk, and I'm on the phone until, like, mind you, like 3 a.m. It's like 3 a.m. I'm on the phone. And I'm like, I come out the door, I'm cutting that out, Castle, 19, Castle. I see Castle. So I see Castle, and I'm like, yo, what's happening? I see him with Leopard. I was like, what's wrong with Leopard? He's like, oh, he's a little drunk or something like that. So he brings back Leopard. He puts him in the bathroom, and Leopard is blah, blah, blah in the toilet. All over the toilet, blah, blah, blah. Mind you, there's only 2 bathrooms, and there's 8 guys, and he is obliterating one of the bathrooms. obliterating one of the bathrooms, like destroying that bathroom, blah, blah, on the floor. So I'm watching him. I'm like, and this is on my YouTube phase on my old phone. This is the old phone where I had the footage. I literally recorded this. I literally had this all on tape. I'm so mad I lost the footage, bro. So mad. But anyway, I'm upset. I'm like, yo, I'm on the phone with my girlfriend. I'm like, homeboy's on the floor. He's on the bathroom floor. Second story, one person on the floor, just vomiting on the floor. I'm like, this craziness. So I see him on the floor, he's vomiting, and I'm pretty much watching over him. Right? I'll watch over him from like an hour or something, and then Castle takes over. I'm like, all right, whatever. Crazy night, vomiting dude, whatever, this is insane. I let him vomit, whatever. Then I come back, and then Hoops comes in. So Hoops comes in, I'm like, what's going on? Hoops comes in, and he's also drunk. I'm like, this. And Reindeer is dealing with him. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, this is insane. So Reindeer is dealing with him, and Hoops is like, he starts moving weird. You feel me? Hoops started moving weird. And Hoops used to hang around this other guy, I call him Alfonso. Let's call the brother Alfonso. So he starts hanging, Hoops was hanging around Alfonso a lot. And I'm like, oh, that's super cool, right? But I don't see Alfonso. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, where's Alfonso? So Alfonso's nowhere to be found. He comes back and Hoops is moving weird. And Hoops starts touching us. Or not touching us, not touching me, but touching Reindeer and saying weird stuff, all kind of weird stuff. I'm like, what's going on? Alfonso comes up to me. He's just like, bro, he's fruity, bro. He's fruity, bro. I'm like, and who else is like, I'm like, what you mean? What you mean? Like, what you mean he's fruity? He's just like saying all kind of thing. I'll take it in the boob. I'm gonna after you. I'm like, oh shoot. I'm like, he's really, Hoops is really swings both ways. He swings this way and he swings that way. You know what I'm saying? Man's an all-star on both sides, whatever. I'm like, all right. I'm like, new development. I didn't know that. I'm like, okay, whatever. Reindeer, he looks scarred. Reindeer looks scarred, and Alfonso looks distraught. Because Alfonso is a really straight guy. I'm a really straight guy too, but like, you know, I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened. But Alfonso was like, yo, what the flip is going on with Hoops? I'm like, calm down, bro. Like, I mean, just calm down. Hoops is what the Hoops is. But I wasn't there for what he was saying, so I couldn't say them. So I'm like, all right, whatever. He deals with that. Hoops is so drunk, he's bouncing around the flipping, what should we call it? The Airbnb. He's bouncing around the Airbnb. I'm like, all right, whatever. So another friend's glasses, I'm not even calling his name. Another friend's glasses is on the couch, right? Hoops is going boo, 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 and then he drops on the couch, cracks it. I'm like, the other guy, he gets mad as hell. He's like, yo, you messing with you broke my glasses. What's wrong with you? I'm like, yo, what the flip? And mind you, I'm just home chilling. You know what I'm saying? I'm just chilling. I come back and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different problems going on. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, for me, I'm like, this is crazy. So I'm like, all right. He comes, he breaks the glasses. I'm like, damn. Insane. So we handle everything. The night is gone. I'm like, oh. I'm telling DJ, I can say her name, DJ all this. I'm like, yo, what the flip is going on in this? So I'm like, all right, whatever. Mind you, the next morning, we had to leave. By next morning, it's 4 a.m. We had to leave. Some of us 9 a.m., 6, 7 a.m., and 6 a.m. So a lot of us are having to leave in the next 6 hours. You feel what I'm saying? Within the next 6 hours. So we're like, this is crazy. So I start packing up all my stuff, and you know, I vlogged a good percentage, lost it once again. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I wake up, right? And I had the key, right? So I got everything together and I had the key, so I was gonna lock the door. I was like, all right. Then everyone's like, oh, we're gonna be ahead of you. We can all choose one Uber and we can go to the airport. I'm like, oh, okay, bet. And this is like 5 a.m. in the morning, right? And Ubers are scarce. Like nobody's really up that early. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody Ubers really up that early. So they got Uber. I'm like, oh, bet. So I'm gonna close the door. Everyone went downstairs ahead of me. I'm gonna make sure everything is good with the place, and then we're gonna leave. So I'm the last one in there, making sure everything's okay, yada, 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 yada. I'm like, I bet. I close the door, start walking down. I call them. They're like, oh, we left. I'm like, what? Bro, when I tell you, like, I like popped, like, a blood vessel, I'm like, what the fuck? What you mean? Right? I'm like, what the hell's going on this bit? She's like, oh, we left. We couldn't stay, yada, yada, yada. It's like, what you mean you couldn't stay? They're like, oh, the guy was trying to go. I said, why didn't you just tell him wait? I was coming down the stairs. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And I'm like, yo, what the hell's going on? And they're like, we can't find blah, blah, blah. They left. And they left. I'm like, all right, whatever. So they left or whatever. And I'm like, wow. In my head, I'm just like, wow. That was the moment I started moving different, right? So I don't know how other people are, you know. I forgive, but I'm not stupid, right? In my head, right? They all left, or a good percent of them, not everybody, but, you know, I forget who it was. It was 6'5", Reindeer, and 2 or 3 other people. I think 2 other people, whatever. And they all leave in an Uber. And I'm super mad. They go to the airport and they just leave me, right? And the reason I was mad was because I kept calling Ubers, and no Uber was available. And my flight is soon. No Uber is available. I'm like, Uber, where you at? Blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to call them. Like, where is it? I can't even get an Uber. And I'm like, yo, I could literally miss my flight. That's what I'm feeling. I'm like, yo, I could low-key be stranded out here. That's what I'm thinking in my head. I can be stranded out here. I'm like, this is crazy. I finally driving or whatever, and I finally find a taxi. I'm like, oh, thank the Lord. I get that. The taxi guy takes me to the place, and I end up making it on time. You know what I mean? I get to the airport, and then they're about to board, and I see Reindeer in the line. He's like, oh, you made it. I'm like, yeah, cool. I go on the, I leave, and this, that, and the third, right? You know, I make it back home, blah, blah, blah. So this is a life lesson. You know what I mean? This is a life lesson, right? To anyone who's watching this, I'm only 19. This is a life lesson I'll never forget. No offense to everybody. I'm like, oh, now no longer trust these people. Not like I'm not going to hang out with them or stuff like that, but you can't rely on people like that. Feel what I'm saying? Like, you can't really so if someone's willing to do that, then you can't rely on them to keep you in your best interest. Feel what I mean? You know what I mean? And during that encounter, that was the main reason why I never drank or smoked. Because I was just, well, I don't smoke. I'm never gonna smoke, period. But drink mainly. Because I was just like, it's not like they're bad. Like, you know, like not everybody. But it's like, yo, like, how can you trust to drink and possible things can go south with you, or people will leave you in a whole different city? You know what I mean? That's something that always was just like, nah, I'm just not gonna drink. You know what I mean? So, you know, I get back, blah, blah, blah. And 6'5" eventually ends up apologizing for leaving me. Leaving me like it's like some craziness, but eventually apologizes. So I'm like, all right, I appreciate the apology, you know. At least he apologized, you know what I mean? Hoops, Reindeer, I was like, I appreciated not Reindeer, 6'5", I appreciated the apology, and that's something. Reindeer, no, I don't believe he ever really actually said anything. I feel like I would remember. And yeah, that's the story, man. I got stranded in Valencia. Stay safe, And I honestly have a lot more Madrid stories to tell y'all. It's like, it was a crazy experience. A bunch of ups, downs, this drunk, this drunk. So, you know, seeing as I have no content, you know, these story times is what I'm gonna be doing. Well, I appreciate y'all, and I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Subscribe. Peace.